So I spend the first half of the lecture just convincing people that sleep is really, really important, and here's why. And you compare it to drunk driving, and you compare it to, you associate it with all of its disease risk. Like, you name any kind of Neolithic disease, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, obesity, you name it, sleep is a huge factor in that. And insulin sensitivity, which most people know about. So the number one factor to improving your sleep is to realize that you actually need to sleep, that you are human, you are mortal, and that nothing will break you faster than not sleeping, and nothing will improve your performance faster than sleeping well. And if, in fact, you can even place sleep, and this is something I talk about in my lecture, you can place sleep strategically in your day to enhance your learning just by taking small naps depending on the type of things you're learning. But if you don't sleep, you just don't learn. Period. But if you look at things like reaction times and problem solving ability and reading speed, processing speed, it's just like being drunk, exactly like being drunk. And in fact, there's lots of studies where we just equate it to this is exactly like a blood alcohol level of 0.08. And that's actually only 24 hours, being up 24 hours in a row. You're legally drunk when you're driving. So SEALs are a difficult audience. One, they've been through SEAL training, which didn't value sleep. Two, they're in a culture that doesn't value sleep. Three, their leadership doesn't value sleep. And four, they all think they're indestructible. So it's a tough group to convince that they need to sleep. So I spend a lot of time with that as well. But with them, smart group, savvy group, and if I just show them physiologically, hey, here's the chart, here's basic anatomy, here's basic physiology, this is how you're screwing this up. When you don't sleep, this doesn't happen, it means that doesn't happen, that doesn't happen, this does happen, and you become hormonally a 12-year-old girl. And they go, whoa, like, I'm motivated now. Testosterone, growth hormone, yeah, I want that to be high. How do I do that? Sign me up for that. So that's the type of things that I lecture on. So I would say probably the first thing that people overlook is how important a dark room is. What you hear of it, what you talk about is circadian rhythm, you've heard of that. Their circadian rhythm is completely driven by that orb in the sky over there, right? And so when you have artificial lighting, we totally screw that up. One of the fastest ways to improve your sleep is to completely black out your windows, like, Kentucky trailer park dark, can't see your hand, like this, right? That type of darkness will enhance sleep overnight, instantaneously. And then the next thing, so that entails getting all of the electronics out of the room, right? Because they all have little dots of lights on them. Now we have, for some reason, we have electronics that have lights to tell us that they're off now, like for however that works, but we do that now, right? So you get rid of all the electronics, and then the next most important thing is you get rid of the clock. Because if you do have problems sleeping and you wake up in the middle of the night, the first thing that you do is you look at the clock and then you start doing mental math and you start thinking, how much time do I have to sleep? What if I didn't do this? What if I got to get this done? And then you start cranking, well, if I could get this many more hours sleep, and you start calculating, now you're waking yourself up. Your brain's starting to go, your adrenals are starting to kick up, and it's like, well, maybe we're supposed to be awake now, and your body's kind of starting to get going. Now you have problems going back to sleep. Now you start worrying that you're not going to go back to sleep, which is stress, and then that's going to make, So those two things alone, dark room, get rid of the alarm clock, handles 60% of sleep insomnia, like what we call insomnia. And then there's just some few other simple tricks that work. I'd say 90% of the time you don't need to work with a physician if you just kind of practice some basic things. But it's like exercise, it's like writing a book, it's like anything else. You have to set yourself a schedule, you have to ritualize it, you have to say there's no kidding, like this is not flexible, I'm doing this every single night at this time, I'm waking up every single day at this time. And then once you're good at it, just like once you're in great shape, do you have to work out exactly at the same time, the same intensity? No. Like, you can stay in shape by generally adhering to the guidelines that got you there, and you can do the same thing once your sleep is good.